Listen to the political rhetoric in Washington, and you will hear a consistent message. The People's Republic of China is an existential threat to global security. But compare those political speeches to the physical reality of China's neon-lit skylines and high-speed rail networks, and a question emerges. Are we looking at a hostile threat, or simply a highly successful economic competitor? To understand the tension, we have to define the doctrine of primacy. Since the end of the Cold War, the United States foreign policy establishment has operated on a specific mandate. America must remain the military views China's rapid modernization as a violation of the global order. In this framework, a peer-level economy is not a sign of global progress, but a strategic vulnerability that must be addressed. When unipolarity is the primary goal, the rise of an equal partner becomes an inherent security risk. This turns the 21st century economic story of 1.4 billion people into a military problem, as American policy is designed to maintain a lead rather than share the top spot. Not everyone in the academic world accepts this security-first framework. Jeffrey Sachs, a renowned Columbia University economist and UN advisor, argues that the China threat narrative is a manufactured myth used to justify a pivot toward confrontation. Sachs's thesis is that the United States is currently struggling to reconcile its foreign policy with an irreversible macroeconomic reality. He suggests that the effort to maintain absolute dominance is failing because the world is naturally shifting toward a more balanced, multipolar state. He points out that many U.S. leaders view China's recovery from a century of poverty as an aggressive move against American interests. From Sachs's perspective, this indicates a lack of historical context regarding China's legitimate goal to improve its own living standards. This creates a high-stakes disagreement. If the Washington establishment is following a doctrine that cannot accept an equal, and Sachs is right that an equal is inevitable, then the two most powerful nations on Earth are moving toward a collision based on two entirely different versions of reality. This chart tracks the gross domestic product of Western nations compared to emerging Asian economies. It illustrates economic convergence, where developing nations catch up to Western industrial standards by adopting state-of-the-art technology. The raw scale of China's convergence is massive. By combining a population of 1.4 billion with aggressive R&D spending and unmatched STEM graduates, China has built an independent innovation ecosystem. We can see the result in purchasing power data. The economic output of the BRICS nations has officially surpassed the G7. China reached this scale by coupling 1.4 billion people with 21st century industrialization, moving past the physical boundaries of a unipolar world. Washington's response to these numbers is a strategy of containment. By using tariffs, semiconductor bans, and military alliances, the U.S. is attempting to restrict China's access to the technologies and markets it needs to continue its growth. Sachs argues that containing a nation that serves as the primary trading partner for 150 different countries is a mathematical impossibility. A country with this much gravity in the global supply chain cannot be boxed in by traditional tribe restrictions. In many ways, the effort backfires. While the United States focuses on trade wars, China is busy building physical infrastructure and deep economic ties globally. Addressing a shift in global demographics with military tools risks marginalizing the United States in the very markets that now drive global growth. But while the economic data is clear, the person presenting it is facing a fierce backlash. Critics argue that Jeffrey Sachs has moved from strategic empathy into the role of an apologist for the Chinese state. They point to his human rights record. Sachs has publicly dismissed the evidence of Uyghur abuses in Xinjiang and often praises the efficiency of the Chinese government, while staying silent on its mass surveillance programs and political crackdowns. His stance on Taiwan has also drawn fire. Sachs has characterized visits from U.S. politicians like Nancy Pelosi as reckless provocations, arguing that Washington should show more respect to Beijing's red lines regarding the island. During a speech in Taipei, this rhetoric met a wall of local resistance. Citizens and scholars were outraged by the suggestion that they should accommodate a regime that routinely threatens their democracy in the name of regional harmony. Sachs presents a macroeconomic argument, coupled with a willingness to minimize the human rights and sovereignty concerns of people affected by Beijing's policies. Even if you reject Jeffrey Sachs's political blind spots, his underlying math regarding the global economy remains. The friction point today is a physical collision. The momentum of global economic convergence is running into the established structure of American primacy. The global system is under immense strain, as these two incompatible frameworks for world order pull in opposite directions. Navigating this transition without a catastrophic war requires moving past the simple narratives of both Washington and Jeffrey Sachs. A stable outcome likely involves a difficult compromise. The United States must find a way to exist alongside an economic equal, while China must be held to international standards regarding the sovereignty and human rights of its neighbors. Maintaining stability in a multipolar world requires a framework that acknowledges global development while protecting the autonomy and values of democratic societies.